wish I was out there with you, dude. Unfortunately, I'm not. You have to crush on my behalf. And I think you can, right? You're fast. We know you're fast. It's no secret you're fast. The training plans have been working for you. You are your own worst enemy, though. So here's what I want to do. I want to play a little game.
Okay.
Every time you're out in the wind, unnecessarily, like on the front, chasing things back, I want you guys listening to this to take a shot, and we're all going to be blackout drunk by the end. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, EJ, chill, keep it in your pants, let the race unfold. I'm not saying you should sit in and turn your brain off. Follow moves if they're going, but I want you to maximize the time you spend in the draft, because I think that that is going to be your best chance. Like, your sprint is good enough to win, obviously, so sit in, chill, let the race unfold, and kill them, buddy.
Thank you, bro. I miss you. I wish you were here, dude. My first 2-3 race. I'm nervous. Gonna be fast, but I'm also excited.
Don't be nervous. They're gonna blow the whistle, and you're gonna just enter race mode. Get them, buddy.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another bike race with me, my buddy EJ. Welcome back, bud.
Dude, so good to be here down in Southern California. Good old, well, not so sunny Southern California. But, excited to be here, excited to race. I just love bikes. What can I say?
Yeah, made the trip down to Southern California. Quickly got the flu. But you were like a week off symptoms when you were racing here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any flu symptoms, but still kind of dealing with the ramifications of being off the bike for I think 6 days total from the flu. Lost a little bit of weight as well. And yeah, I haven't really dealt with that quite yet, like bouncing back from something like that. Is there anything you recommend when people get sick to kind of help themselves get that fitness back?
I think a lot of people try to train through it, which is it's really tempting to try to do that, but the flu will just last longer and you're not going to benefit from those trainings. So obviously I told EJ to take it easy. If he feels good, then start back into it slowly with zone 2 rides. And you did. You got back into zone 2 rides, and now we're doing some intensity, obviously, in a race. But that top end goes away, and it's easy to get discouraged and be like, oh, my season's thrown away. The top end fitness, that sprinting stuff that we're going to see a lot of in a crit, that goes away quickly, but it comes back quickly. It's the base fitness that endures season to season. We talk a lot about this in the masterclass. It's built into all of the trains in the masterclass. And speaking of fitness, EJ, I was not worried about your fitness, even though this is, by the way, congratulations, Cat 3 upgrade. This is your first Cat 2-3.
Thank you.
Yeah, your first Cat 2-3 race. So this is not just Cat 3s. This is a combined field with Cat 2 racers. Even still, I'm not worried about your fitness being the thing that prevents you from winning, because you're going so good. We all know what numbers you're capable of producing. I think that it's going to be about positioning. It's going to be about cornering, and it's going to be about being in exactly the right position to unleash that 1,500-watt sprint that we know that you're capable of. And on a course like this, a 4-corner Criterium without any major features, big, wide, smooth roads, this is a great opportunity to exercise those things, because there isn't like a hill or like a twisty, narrow section that you have to go through where it's just about who can just muscle up the hill with the most power. It's going to be about positioning yourself. And with that said,
cornering, though, I mean,
you notice how people were going way faster than you through that corner, and then you had to do like 800 in order to catch back up.
It's hard to watch back, but I think I'm going to make an excuse. I don't know. I'm just not still quite comfortable kind of around those people in the corners. In the beginning of this race, foreshadowing later on, I get more comfortable. But I think I just need to mix in, more group riding during the week, something like that.
Like just here, you're out in the wind, and I think that more group riding, like you said, is absolutely great. But I didn't mean to cut you off. But you're just right here. You're just out in the wind, doing a lot of power. You may as well be off the front, right? If you're not going to be in the draft, you may as well be off the front. But you're mid-pack. You're just kind of off to the side of it. Maximize that time spent in the draft. I think I set a shot for every time you're out in the wind for no reason. So drink up, boys. Okay, we're going to see another good example here of just an area where you could save energy. You could find some efficiencies. So already we're up at 800. Other people are coasting to the right of you. And I think I understand your motivation. You tell me what's going on right here.
From what I can remember, I was just wanting to move up to be able to take better corners. I think I just kind of felt crowded. It wasn't super stoked at being swarmed in all the corners, kind of in that back to mid
Yeah.
pack. But like, I don't know. That was probably just a wrong time to move up, right?
Well, yeah, it was. I think so. You moved up at least. At least you accomplished the thing you set out to do. You just could have done it in a much more efficient way because you were on the unsheltered side of the road, so you're eating all the wind. And like we talked about in the phone call at the beginning, like, I want you to move up in people's draft. This is a drill that we talk about in the masterclass. This is something that we did at Spectrum, right?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, we made a video about it. Move up. This is a good drill. Move up while staying in somebody's draft in a group ride. So you're in your local group ride. Move to the front and then come back to the back. And move to the front. And each time you move up to the front, do so in somebody's draft because you just kind of brute forced it back there, EJ. And it's cool that you have that ability. The training's going really well. But like, even though you can, it doesn't mean you should. You know, like,
Definitely.
save that energy for the final few laps of the race when it's really consequential. And this is stuff that just comes with experience. I think you're going to do more races, more group rides, and you're going to get the hang of it. And so here we are, I think just a lap later, and there's an attack going off on the right. So I understand that you're like, I don't want to miss the breakaway. But again, on the unsheltered side of the road, those are sprint numbers, dude. Like, that's a lot of power, even though it was only for 3-4 seconds. If you're doing this each lap, look, guys, we're just a few laps into this race. If you're doing that consistently, like, say bye-bye to your sprint. You know what I mean? You can't just continue doing that. I think we learned that at Merced. We learned that at Cherry Pie, right?
No, definitely. And I mean, also, it's kind of like, for what? You know, like, basically this is still going to get brought back regardless. You know, like, everyone's still following me. I just tow everyone with me. I don't know. It just, it's tough to watch.
Well, hindsight's 20/20. I don't want to sound too harsh, but yeah, looking back in the rear cam, it's like, I get if you want to really commit a lot of energy like that.
Yeah.
If it's like, I'm going to definitely get a gap, I'm going to slingshot, and I'm going to roll the dice on a breakaway.
Yeah.
But you have a less than a 1 second gap. So like, you didn't even roll the dice on a breakaway because they're all right there. And this is easy to say after the fact, but this is just that thing that we talked about. It's just race awareness, and it just comes with some experience. All right, so you guys want to know how to move up easily and efficiently. I identified this spot right here. So EJ chilling, sitting in the draft. Now, the group isn't going particularly fast. EJ's down at 0 watts. In fact, I think you're going to break here in a second. Instead, just do 250 watts. Move up like 10 riders and then just slot in before this corner. And that would just be such an easy way to make up ground where you don't have to spike up over 1,000 watts, right? All right, still really early in this race. EJ, this is exactly what I like to see. You're in somebody's draft. It looks like they're cranking up the speed here, making a move off the front. Perfect.
Yeah, no, unless shout out Jack from Bros Ride Bikes here. I knew this was a good wheel to follow. This kid, 15 years old, super talented, can corner really well. And honestly, like, I remember this moment, and it was like the first time in the race I felt like I was actually recovering and just taking really, really smooth lines. I know it's like you're not getting as good of a draft up here because, you know, I am second wheel, and it's not exactly what you told me to do, like not just sit in mid-pack, but it just felt good. Was this the right move?
No, this is fine. I told you to follow riders, and following riders attacking off the front is great. This is perfect because, let's talk about why it felt easier. I mean, look at your power, right? You're between like 200 and 350 this entire time. Back in the pack, you guys remember looking at it, it was like 0, 0, 0, 1300, 0, 0, 0, 800, 0, 0, 0, 1300. That is not a consistent and efficient way to go around fast squares around a business park because that's the crazy sport we do, you guys. The most efficient way to do that is to sit at this consistent output. We're going over a little riser here, and Jack's a small guy, so that's the reason why EJ was up at some power there. But you can tell it's a very consistent, measured effort. You're taking better lines through the corners, and you're just preserving all of your speed. This is the benefit of being up towards the front. And if you're in somebody's draft, all the better. And unfortunately, that doesn't work out. You guys get caught, and look at the power, 0 watts. This might seem like a good thing, but this is going to demonstrate the point I was making earlier, which is Sergi is not good. Anytime you're doing 0 watts, there's no free lunch. You got to make up for it at some point. And we're going to see you have to get back up to speed because when you're doing 0, you're going to get passed. And these riders on the right are going, and talk about Sergi. You're still under 200 watts, and then you decide, this is my moment. And now you're up at over 1,000, and this is the consequence. Like, how much better did it feel back in Jack's draft?
Dude, it was so much better. And then also, again, hindsight's 20/20. I say that a million times every time we film these videos, but like, for what, right? The pack's still in my rear camera. Shout out, now I have a rear camera we can actually see. Like, there was just no point in doing that, right? Like,
yeah, you could have sat in and it would have been like, let other people do that. And maybe there's a game of chicken, and maybe the breakaway gets a 2-second gap. And then if you're really terrified that that's the breakaway of the day, then you could do 1,300 watts and jump across. But if you're going to be doing over 1,000 anyway, make it hurt everybody else. You kind of just did it, and you just dragged the field with you because you didn't really have that slingshot. And yeah, the whole group just stayed together. Good point. Like, you didn't have to do that. And, you normalized what? This whole race, you normalized something like 300 watts?
303 or something, which surprisingly is the lowest normalized I've had for any race yet, but still I think there's so much more I can improve on watching the footage back.
But here's the thing, and I'm gonna spoil the finish just a little bit. It came down, I'm not going to spoil the result, but the finish was a field sprint. You could have stayed in mid-pack and taken fast corners and stayed in the draft, and I bet you your normalized, instead of being 302, it could have been like 225. It is that consequential, you guys. Drafting is the principal force we overcome in bike racing, and if you are mid-pack, you are getting this amazing draft, and you could have had so much more energy because the result is the same. If it's a field sprint and you're mid-pack, then all this work that you did was essentially for nothing, trying to force a split and being out in the wind and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, all in all, like I said, it's nice to have the rear camera to see now. It kind of hammers home the point, but like those spikes are just kind of for nothing unless I really utilize it correctly, like really getting a break or do a slingshot or something like that. But all in all, I'm just keeping the field together, right? I'm just basically working for everyone else. And
I talked about that when we did our Alviso video. There were like, I think 2 moments in that Alviso race where I was like, okay, I have to jump across to this breakaway because otherwise the race is going to be over. And there was another moment where it's like, okay, I have to commit to it was that last lap bridge attempt. In order to make sure I'm going to, even be in the sprint, I have to get back up into position. So there were 2 moments in the race where it's like I had to do it. And I don't have this crazy high FTP. There's plenty of people in the P12 field who have much higher FTP than me. But what I pride myself in, and it's because I've been doing this for a long time, is that experience that allows me to see those moments where it's like, now I have to use the power. And every time I use a bunch of power and then it was like, oh, crap, like we got caught. The breakaway didn't work. Or like, that didn't work. I'm kind of stuck in no man's land. Or whatever the case is, it's like, it kills me because I know that energy could have been saved for a time later on in the race, ideally the sprint finish. And it's something that you're going to get better at with time, EJ. It's something that it unfortunately just takes the experience of doing a lot of group rides and races. So I encourage you guys, EJ included, to do more races, do more practice races, do more group rides. Even watching more videos about races, you can just see those moments. It's like pattern recognition. All right, everybody, get your shot glasses ready. Sorry, EJ. We talked about being out in the wind for no reason. Okay, so EJ's out in the wind right now. I just would have followed that rider. You took the wide line through that corner. I just would have followed that rider. This is like not a critical moment. This guy thinks it's a critical moment. He's going to nuke 1,000 watts. I don't know. Into the abyss. I don't know what that was about. That was weird. Don't follow him. But yeah, you're out in the wind here for a long period of time, just on the kind of the side of the peloton. Like we talked about in one of the earlier clips, you may as well be off the front, right?
Yeah.
You're solo. You're flying solo here, EJ. What's going on?
I'm not benefiting from this at all, obviously. Like you said, I'm just out in the wind. And to be honest,
it's the unsheltered side too.
To be honest, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just I think I found myself on the wrong side of that turn and then just dealt with the ramifications of that, just kind of breaking through that corner. And yeah, I don't know. I really don't have an answer, but obviously hindsight's 20/20. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad that you said hindsight's 20/20 one more time. I'm glad you said that first of all.
Got to throw that in there. Take a shot every time I say that as well.
I'm glad that you, in seriousness, I'm glad that you thought better of it, because it seemed like you were out in the wind. You're like, okay, I'm going to move up. And then you're like, nah, I'm not, which was the right move. Between those 2 options, that was the right move, and you fell back. You lost a lot of position, but on a course like this, it's pretty easy to get back into position. And you don't have to go crazy and do 1,300 watts to do it. You have to find those specific opportunities we talked about. So, EJ, you've moved your way back up towards the front in people's draft. Super stoked to see that. And now stuff's about to go down. This rider in front of you, guys, put away the shot glasses. EJ's following somebody. Unfortunately, dude comes unclipped, and all of a sudden, for obvious reasons, not making any more power. So, EJ, in this moment, we've paused it, and you have a decision to make, because For obvious reasons, the rider in front of you is not making any more power. But there's this guy on the right who's out of the saddle making all sorts of power. And I think in this moment, if I were you, I would be like, okay, I either have to follow this rider on the right, or I have to give up on the move up the road and hope it gets chased back, or think about a time later on to bring it back. So we see there seems to be a little bit of hesitation. Do you know what was going on? This rider behind you chirping, though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just hesitated, right? Like, I should have followed that guy's wheel if I was going to jump across. End up hesitating, and that was the worst thing I could do, right? Because now I'm just dragging the guy behind me and the whole dang field with me up to this break, basically stitching the race back together. Kind of almost like I have a teammate in the back of the pack, but right, like that just wasn't the right move.
Yeah, I think if you're truly worried about this front group, which maybe you should have been, the race leader, the series leader is in it, then the better move would have been that slingshot I talk about so much on the channel. You know, sit back. That's when you use the 1,300 watts that you're so capable of, that we know you're so capable of, EJ. And you just want to teleport across that gap by yourself. Don't drag the field with you because, like you talked about earlier, it's like you made a good point. You said, what was all that for? Look, we look in the rear cam, the whole field is there. You could have been sitting in doing 200 watts. Instead, you were the guy on the pointy end, kind of dragging it back, like you said, as if you had a teammate back there. So, whoa, what's going on here? Attacks on the left and attacks on the right. EJ in EJ land. But you're some more indecision. Like, I feel like all these attacks are catching up with you because you weren't in the draft there either.
Yeah, I mean, I was just hurting, just a little bit tired. I kind of remember this. I was like, oh, God. You know, same thing, different day. You know, hopefully one of these days I learn how to freaking race my bike.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I kind of expected this to be the case, right? We know EJ's fitness is through the roof. And I've talked about this on the channel before. It's almost a curse. It's really interesting. Riders that have this amazing ability to push power into the pedals consistently really hard, like EJ has, adapted really well to the training plans. Early in the categories, Cat 5, Cat 4, you're allowed to make mistakes because your crutch is like, oh, I'll just do more power than everybody else, right? So you don't have to learn those fundamentals of like racing in the pack. And I think that's now that you're in a 2-3 race in Southern California, known for their crit racing, we're starting to see the result of you not quite having those skills yet of pack riding, positioning, cornering. And it's no fault of your own, EJ. You're just still new to the sport. This is like your 4th race or something. It's crazy that you've made it this far, but now I think you're seeing that like, oh, EJ gets tired. Like, like that didn't happen before, right? You could go through an entire 4 or 5 race without feeling tired, but now it's like, ooh, you have to be smart on when you use the energy, how you conserve that speed through the corners and that sort of thing, right? And this is the moment when it's time to start thinking about saving energy and being very careful about how you're using it. But I just feel like you're worried about the brake getting away. Also, the rain's starting to fall, which is a little sketchy. Do you remember this moment, EJ?
I do, yeah. And you nailed it right on the head, man. I just, it's so tough to watch, but I just have trouble being patient. Like, especially when it's getting down to, you know, last couple minutes of the race. Like, I just kind of freak out, you know. And I think again, like, hopefully that's something I'll learn in time. But
1,000 watts.
Like, what should I have done here? Just sat in, right? Like, I mean, this gets brought back anyway.
Well, yeah, if it gets brought back anyway. It's always a roll of the dice, though. I get it. You're thinking like, oh man, is this the break of the day? And at least you have a gap behind you now. But you have just spent, as we've been talking, the last 45 seconds out in the wind. You're finally, so take a shot. Now put the shot glasses away. He's back in the draft. This is where I wanted you. It's fine. My instructions on the phone were like, hey, sit in the wheels as long as possible. Follow moves, right? It's fine to join a breakaway that way. But out in the wind, like solo bridging like that, you have to be so careful when you choose those moments because it costs so much energy just to be out in the wind going 32 miles an hour, 33 miles an hour like you were. And guess what? They're all back. So, yeah, you could have just sat in doing 200 watts that whole time. EJ, final lap and a half. Here we go, baby. This is it. Let's see how much energy you have left. Perfect position, by the way. Dude, stoked that you've got up here. People might think you're too far back, but you're not. This is exactly where you want to be on a course like this. And then, oh, my God. Can we watch that again in slow motion? So it looks like, I mean, we can't tell because we can't see what's happening, but it looks like there is probably an overlap of some sort. EJ barely misses it.
Dude.
And then right back up on the gas to get up to these front riders. And again, like, you're maintaining fantastic position. Everyone kind of sprinted there on the right, so I don't fault you for going up to whatever you just went to, 1,300 watts. You kind of had to in that moment. And this is when you're really careful about position. But what?
Yeah, they ended up stopping the race and neutralizing it.
Oh, my God, with 1 lap to go.
Oh, yeah, it was tough. I mean, I understand. I didn't really know what to think at this moment. I was a little bit frustrated because I was pretty happy with my position.
Yeah, no, your position was perfect. The good news is they didn't start you with 1 lap to go. That would be chaos.
Yeah.
They started with you 3 laps to go. So let's find out how that shakes out. All right, so off we go. 3 laps to go. The good news is, EJ, they let you back. No, like, nobody crowded you. Like, you're basically back in ideal position, right?
Yeah, no, and that was definitely a blessing. Like, I would have been pretty upset if people rolled in front of me and, tried to be kind of sneaky about it. But luckily, everyone was super cool, understood what was going on, and kind of let people who had position keep that position.
Yeah, and I wouldn't just maintain your standing here. Like, follow this.
Not out.
EJ, 600 out in the wind. I would just follow this Alto Velo rider. Shout out Alto Velo in SoCal also. They're a NorCal team. I don't get it. EJ, follow this guy.
Yeah, I don't.
There's 2 trains.
I think I know why. Again, not.
Tell me.
Not.
Tell me while we're doing shots. Tell me.
Not a good reason why, but I think I was a little bit spooked after the crash. Like,
oh, that's
I don't know. I was a little bit, like, you can tell I'm not holding wheels super tight right here. It just wasn't, like, stoked on being close to people, which that's not good, right? Like, in crit racing, you need to be close to people. Obviously, you got to fight the wind, but I think I remember kind of feeling that way in this moment, which is something I got to work on. Like, crashing is part of it,
Well, I've said it before. The mark of a good crit racer is a complete lack of self-preservation. But I half kid when I say that. But also, like, you got to have that bloodthirsty instinct. And being spooked is no good. If you're feeling that way in the final couple laps of a crit, usually not going to end well. You get tense. It's actually more dangerous because then you get your upper body gets all tense and you take weird, unpredictable lines. And, yeah, it's not a good thing. So, but it's understandable. I mean, you were almost caught up in that crash. It was very close. But you seem fine now. I like that you're obviously in good company. This is the guy in the yellow jersey, is the series leader. Again, ideal position. God, there's a bloody elbow on the right here. Again, ideal position. Like, I wouldn't lose too many more wheels here coming through this corner. But but at least you're sheltered. And on a course like this, wide open, smooth roads, it is way easier to make up a lot of ground in the final lap. You don't want to depend on that ability, but it's much easier to do that. And I think this is exactly where I would want to be. This is the right mix of not too far back, but also getting an absolutely ideal draft. But EJ, stay in the draft, and don't pass people. Yeah, I just would have stayed there. Like, as long as people are riding on the front, which it looks like people are. It looks like there's these 2 guys on the same team. Anytime you see riders on the same team with the same jersey riding on the front, there's usually some purpose behind it, especially as you cat up. This is the 2-3s now, don't forget. And that means they're going to keep it fast. And that we know that who's that on the front? That's one of the Bros Ride Bikes. He's got a brother who he's riding for, so we know it's going to be fast. There's no reason to panic here, EJ, and move up, because you don't want to find yourself too close to the front. Were you aware of your position? Were you thinking about
I was, but I was just being impatient, right? Like, I was just, every time that I'd slightly fall back like I am right here, I kind of just freak out, which I don't know. Like you've addressed, just isn't the right thing. Like, I should have just been okay where I was at, right?
Yes, because look at this guy with the Cannondale with the gold bar tape. He was the guy that passed you a few corners back. So that whole jaunt that you did out on the left with the extra power and the watts, and now your heart rate's 180. All that was like, you could have just stayed with that guy, right?
Yeah, it was just for nothing. And now we're coming into Bell Lap, and I'm in the exact same position I was. Like, right? Yeah.
Stay to the left. Be behind this Ironfly guy. Like, don't. Okay, it looks like you're gonna slot back in, but now you're too far forward, right? Like, it is a delicate balance, guys. I'm not saying it's easy, but I would be in the draft right now. Shots for EJ not being in the draft. Final lap.
And then this was a really, really bad decision. I remember this moment. I stumbled. I just didn't know what to do. I was like, do I chase this guy? Do I not chase this guy? Like, what should I have done in this situation? Obviously,
exactly what the guy in front of you did is just peel off. Like,
okay, yeah.
Because you're essentially leading out the entire field right now. Guys, this is a last lap. We're 550 meters to go. EJ chasing this solo rider. Look, it's the type of thing where if you have a teammate, this is the right move that you're leading out. But you have no teammates. You have no obligation to chase back this solo rider. FYI, he's not going to stay away. He has a 1.5 second gap on the last lap of a crit. You guys are about to go 40 miles an hour. And look at the consequence of that. Now you're getting passed by everyone and their mother. And what do I say? First person to the last corner is generally the winner of crit races.
Yeah.
Well, check this guy out. Big slingshot attack on the left. First through the last corner. Takes down the W. EJ still dumping 1,200 watts after all the work you've done in this race. And are you going to be able to pass one more guy? It looks like you're trying to. Not quite,
No.
but 8th place in your first 2-3 race. I know that you're a competitive dude, as am I. So first, there's nothing like first, man. I'll tell you what. But
Yeah.
you be proud of 8th in your first
Thank
2-3
you.
race. And where were you among the Cat 3 finishers?
I think I was like, I want to say like top 3, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It was a really fun race. So.
And I was a bit harsh, but honestly, pointing out all these mistakes, if you did the race perfectly and you got 8th, it'd be like, okay, what do we do to get better? We know what to do to get better. We're going to work on those things, and EJ is going to be racing the P12 in no time. So stay tuned, guys.
I don't know
Subscribe.
about that.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, we'll
Yeah,
see.
you are.
But seriously, guys, thank you for all the support. Hopefully, you guys can learn from my mistakes. Happy to sit here and watch all my mistakes with you. You guys have been awesome. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yep.